that skill has not come in. We just talk about it. So
Okay.
at least they will start coming into the school if we're going to be looking at assessment in that manner. So I
Right.
think it's a great opportunity. I hope I'm audible.
You have been audible so far, ma'am. I just want to do a quick audio check. Those of you who are able to listen to us, please type A in the chat quickly so that if you are able to listen to us, we can at least have an idea how many of you are able to listen. Good. So the A's are coming up much faster. Yes. I will again play the devil's advocate here. We had the Ramaswamy committee coming in, which wanted to introduce 10th grade, 12th grade marks, and also wanted to introduce aptitude tests and bring down this entrance coaching racket into, which has been, which has dominated the spectrum so very well. Yeah, so very well. Are you hopeful that this entire examination system, which almost talks, 10 standard you score, 12 standard you score, will it change, Seema? Are you as optimistic as the other panelists are in terms of the dramatic change we have to have? Because without 21st century skills, those students who are going to live their life in the second half of 21st century will be hamstrung. Seema Sapru.
So Colonel Shekhar, what I have understood from NEP is that this report card, what we're talking about, and the board results, I guess you wanting me to know how, you wanting to find out how this NEP is going to change the report card system and the learning outcome system. That's what you're wanting to know?
No, I'm saying is that is understood. What I'm saying is the challenge, what Dr. Amita explained in terms of that the grassroots level, the change in mindset of the teachers, the way it has to go up. And the additional question post Dr. Amita's answer was this exam focused India, the coaching culture, the exams all put together. How quickly can we break that?
See, this will depend completely on how the question papers are going to be framed. Because at the end of it, we are the ones who frame questions. And if the question paper asks you who was Ram and who is Sita, then naturally coaching institutes are going to mushroom the way they are as of now. But if you have conceptual questions, if you have questions where there is an open book kind of a assessment, there is something where there is a multi-dimensional report, if there is something where we are talking about not just academic marks, we are also talking about psychomotor, socio-emotional skills, affective skills. We are also talking about day-to-day classwork, homework, day-to-day children's responses in the classroom, role plays, maybe conducting Lok Sabha parliamentary sessions in the classroom. So if you talk about these challenges, well, I think it is very important that we change. And yes, it's all about teacher training, and it is all about professional development.
Yeah. We'll come to teacher training. We'll come to teacher training a little later. I just read out Senior Principal Ranjini Krishnaswamy saying that, no, we seem to have greater faith on friendly aunts and uncles who provide extra help rather than the teacher themselves. Yeah. Knowing Ranjini, that's a tart remark which she has made. Yeah. They're coming to Dakshani of following up on what Amita has clearly said. There are significant challenges. Now, since we have touched upon teacher training and teacher training institutions have been given excellent coverage in the new education policy. I'll quote Mr. Anil Swarup, who said that these are the overground mafias which we have in the system. So all this NEP talks great language in 65 pages. How do we transform teacher training, teacher education in the country? Dr. Dakshani, to start.
Again, this is not an easy job at all. As you rightly said, one is the mindset, Colonel Shekhar. See, we are so used to teaching from the textbook. Okay, the lesson plan format is given, as Mr. Kaiser said. There are lots of things that are already in place, but then, we follow the old age lesson plan format that is going to be taught. The second thing is I really don't understand why in India, people who are doctors or engineers are not able to get into teaching. Because even today, when I'm doing a course from either Harvard or any other online courses that we do, you have teachers coming from different areas. I had a doctor who actually was teaching school management, uh, thinking as to how to have the checklist, how exactly we need to manage our schools, etc., etc. That openness has not come in. The opportunity for intelligent people who are in different areas, if they want to become a teacher, is not there. So the whole framework, the way NEP is done, there should be a document for teacher training. That will be the first step. And the second thing is excellent curriculum applicable based on what we are thinking. See, as Mr. Kaiser and Ms. Amita already said, there are a lot of things that we have taken from IB, IGCSE, and other international boards which we have been implementing. You spoke about mother tongue policy here. IBPYP has mother tongue policy there. Every child has to learn. So they teach it either as a club or an association, involve the parents and do it. So such kind of activities, what can be done has to be there in the teacher training institutes. Now they're saying that NCRT as well as teacher, National Teacher Training Institute, both of them will come together to form this. Once it happens in a proper way, and it is not only the 4-year course that we are talking about, I feel that there should be a 6-month course, 1-year course for teachers who want to come into teaching, and that should be made accessible. Flexibility should be there, like it can be online, it can be weekend, it can be regular courses. People who are committed will definitely work on it and make themselves the best.
Okay, ma'am. Right, ma'am. And now let me provoke the panelists. Dr. Amita, straight to you. A teacher today, and the vast majority of them, let's not look at some of us who are lucky enough. I have seen that almost everyone gives you the greatest of videos during Guru Purnima or September 5th. But how many of the elite in India would want their children to be teachers? Second, the same problem which we face in the armed forces too. Everyone says Bharat Mata ki Jai. Tomorrow you'll have a profusion of patriotism, but tell them to join the armed forces, the parents and the students will have a million questions. So one of the key highlights of the policy is to restore the dignity of the teacher. How will you do that, Dr. Amita? What are the ways we can do it till the time the ruling class understands that the teacher is the key to the transformation? I'm asking you a very grounded question.
I think firstly, the most important thing is we're not talking about progressive and elite schools where people are paying properly. I'm talking about state schools across the board, and I have worked in many areas over there. And I think that the first thing is to essentially look at their pay structures. Their salaries are what, and also not utilize them for doing voting, for finding out surveys, for for transforming their school into distribution centers, for converting them into COVID centers. I mean, you are. This is just playing. I mean, right now, of course, it's a difficult situation, but otherwise, I think across the board, teachers in states have been sort of treated in a very arbitrary manner. And they've just, if you don't have anybody else, back off the teacher to take a survey in a population survey in a house, or a vaccination survey in a house. I think the first thing is to develop self-esteem by dignifying that post and saying, you are a teacher, you are going to spend money on your training. This is the kind of money you will get. And it should be merit-based. When you are doing well, your children are giving good results, you will definitely ensure that you will be valued. I mean, just recently, I was on a panel of a jury of judging awards, and I was amazed at the fantastic work that teachers are doing in states. People are paying from their own salaries to develop the infrastructure in little villages in Andhra, in little villages in Tamil Nadu. Thus, they are learning the language of the tribals. There was one teacher from West Bengal who was learning the Todo language because she wanted to ensure that the girls there were empowered. They're living there in broken roads. They're living there in broken situations, in floods, in difficult situations. So we have to, and I think it is important for people like you and these wonderful people on the panel and those who are listening to us to bring these unsung heroes by writing stories on them, putting it out over there in the public domain? Why are we only listening about actors and artists? Why isn't the teacher the hero? In fact, I have just spoken to somebody and said, let's document these stories of these teachers who are working in these states. Everybody cannot get a national award, but we must document them. We must
Fair,
give
ma'am.
them space.
Right. But ma'am, I'm also looking at the other aspect which comes in teachers which I've been familiar with, and this is, I'll follow up with Kaisar. I'll come back to you a little later on this question. Very passionately, Dr. Amita has talked about the good work which is being done. But the key point, sir, is the dignity of the teacher, and I say it with some pain, the dignity of the soldier. Once that point, that time is over, the societal respect and dignity doesn't come up only in those means. The society is to accept this as a job which is beyond what is normal. What are the three things you would recommend each one of us to understand better, and for the wider society to look at, to make teachers, just like they are in Finland or elsewhere, top of their professions, the training and the other aspect? Two, the budget schools where 45% of our students are still studying, how will we make them more credible in the system we have? Mr. Kesar.
I couldn't quite get your questions. It was a little soft on that. Could you just
You answer to what you have heard. It's simple.
Okay.
Teachers training and the way forward. This policy will succeed only when the 321 million students of schools and colleges in India are transformed by the teacher. The teacher is the most powerful person inside or outside the classroom with reference to the student.
All right, got it.
But the teacher is not given the kind of respect in the system, both in terms of money and in terms of role. Dr. Amita talked about the various roles, including polls and census, which teachers are made to do, and the work they are doing. What is your take on it? What are the three things we can do to improve the teacher as a person, as a professional, and as a human being? Mr. Kesar.
Right. I think when you look at the school structure and when you're talking about this national education policy, you're also looking at schools in small towns and villages. The gamut is really, really wide. Government schools to come into play. And when you see that there is the budget in the education element is just 3% of the union budget of 2020, then you can well understand what is going down there to the teachers out there. So the first thing I think is that the teacher evaluation is linked to your professional development for sure. I think that link needs to come. And the evaluation of a teacher is not the same as evaluating an employee by way of working as a laborer, because the teacher is neither a laborer or a management person. He's somewhere in between, right? So I think that's the first go at it. Secondly, when you're looking at the whole educational pattern changing and evolving to conceptual understanding, etc., the teacher has to change the role from teaching to facilitating. See, we teach all the time. Teaching happens all the time. Can't say that about learning. Teach and test and leave the rest is not the issue. So I think that's where the understanding of the 21st century skills are coming in. So coming to the teachers, yes, there is a government pay commissions which are fixing up the salaries for the teachers. That's been done if you ask me, done pretty well. But is it being implemented? Right? That's in private schools, for example, to what extent is it implemented? Right? Government schools do it to a certain degree. So salary is one part of the story which has been raised by people. As far as status goes, I don't think there is any area which has that much, which is called a noble profession, and there's much more giving than taking here, honestly.
Okay.
When I look back in my life and I say, what did I earn when I started off? Well, my salary was 775 rupees. Well, I kind of felt very happy with everything that went on because I was not looking at a salary package only. That was not my main game. My thing, that was my calling. That was my vocation. So teaching to attract, as Bernard Shaw once said, those who can't, comma, teach. Now, that arena has gone. Now people are coming up with more who are wanting to teach. It's a vocation, it's a calling in your life. So, I believe when you do your best, and there's a lot of research which teachers do. See, that reflective part, if it is enhanced, which is done in the West, a lot of research, now they become good workshop leaders, they write books. The best of pedagogical books were written by teachers. When I take differentiation, so there's a lot more which the teachers can do.
Yes, sir. Now, I'll kind of intervene here. I have a couple of more questions to come up. Interesting. It's a noble profession. I see a lot of comments saying, sir, nobility will not put food on the table kind of thing. That's
Right.
fine. Now to two important questions which almost everyone is asking, the examination system. And I start with you, Seema Sapru. How would the examination system, especially 10th and 12th, change post the NEP? I'm coming to you, Dr. Amita, after this. Yeah.
I think once we start class 10 and 12 examination, which they've said that the syllabus is going to be much less, it's going to be deeper, not superficial. I think that itself will make a lot of difference. Plus, the way the examination is going to be planned and executed, because these children would have already taken the examinations in grades 3, 5, and 8. So 3rd, 5th, and 8th, they would have taken these board examinations. So, comparing these examinations with board examinations, where the system is going to be different, that will be decided by Parak, because we, as of now, nothing has been told to us exactly how it is going to be done.
Agreed.
So,
Yeah, my basic question, Seema, is
Yes.
we are going to have some exams in 3, 5, 8, and then in 10 and 12, twice,
yes.
etc. So
Twice.
presently, we are waiting for much more guidelines on it. So everyone has to now take a deep breath, wait for it. There is a framework which is going to come.
Yes,
And a
so
lot more
I
is going to
solidified
come.
that.
Yes.
So-
A lot of questions are coming in. Is tomorrow morning there will be no exams?
But I have a feeling that there'll be a lot of conceptual learning. There will be a lot of open-ended questions. Children will be able to write what they wish to, and teachers will be trained to accept answers which are correct, whatever method they use to write the answer.
Fair.
So as long as it's correct, so it's not going to be a marking scheme which say this keyword you get one answer, one word, this keyword you get one word, something to that effect. I think it will be more objective. Sorry, I'm speaking too much.
Fair.
Sorry.
Dr. Amita, the question is this exam system which we have, right through whatever we are doing, how post NEP, say by 2025 or so, what will be the transformation which will happen both in the school ending exams and the way we are doing it behind? Dr. Amita.
Right. Firstly, can you hear me? I have to keep
Yes.
checking that. Right.
Yeah, you are now loud and clear. Please
Perfect.
shoot.
Perfect. So what I want to say is that the good thing about the way we're going to look at assessment is that it's going to be seamless. And seamless assessment is always good because it sort of connects children, without any blockages. As of now, every class is some kind of a blocked system. The other thing is, as far as we're concerned with grades 10 and 12, I think that as we move, the assessment of 10th will become more and more flexible and more fluid. Because there, again, in 10th, it will be more based on the way that they're looking at the concepts. There will be more MCQ based. There will be more questions which are looking at an overview of how children learn. There will be a lot of innovative assessment. And student tracking will become a variety, will become the novel, which will bring out how students are evaluated. So student tracking will be very important, and you'll be able to gauge how children are moving across classrooms. So it will become a student-centered approach of differentiated learning, and assessment will allow students to make mistakes. They'll have the right to make mistakes. They'll become more creative, and will be away from rote learning.
Great.
So if we want our children to participate in things like the PISA assessment, we have to change the way we teach. We have to.
Yeah.
And so it is automatically linked to that. Otherwise, we'll become worse than Kyrgyzstan. We will come last. Right now, we came second last thanks to
Yeah,
Kyrgyzstan,
second
and we
last.
will be
Okay.
last.
Yeah.
The other
Okay.
thing I want to make a quick point, Colonel Shekhar, is that the higher education models will have to dovetail to the school, which is very, very essential. Because unless they seamlessly move from school to higher education, it will be very difficult to look at assessments because they have to change their acceptance patterns of how children are given admission in colleges. So
Yeah.
that's very, very essential.
Right. Two great points you have made, ma'am, which Kaisar also made earlier in terms of backward integration. But the point is about failure, coming in, vocational education, skilling, all these are there at all levels. I'm asking Dr. Dakshani, I'll come to the other panelists a little later. Now, with all these exams, how will we be able to take away the mindset wherein success only counts? How will you make failure even more important in a system like ours, where in life there will be failures and successes? And how will this mindset be changed, Dr. Dakshani?
Definitely, it is going to be a challenge. I do agree that it's going to be difficult, but the complete culture of education needs to change. Now, failure should be taken as an opportunity to learn. It is something like SWOT, where you are actually analyzing and finding out what is your weakness. And when a child fails, probably, the teacher actually should take it as a learning opportunity for the child and then start working on him and encourage him. And children should be made to come up and talk about failures as they talk about their successes. It is going to require a lot of planning, and definitely it is going to. But at the same time, the child will also know that it is not only the marks or failure in one subject that is going to hinder his education later. There are a lot of things that have come in, wherein the children will look at +1 when you get into a university degree. 1 year you get a certificate, 2 years you get a diploma, 3 years you get a degree, 4 years you get to do research. But the planning should be done in such a way that the industry knows what to expect of these kids who have a certificate, these kids who have a diploma, these kids who have a degree. Because when the child knows that he's going to drop out, where will he go? The university should say that in first year, if the child is dropping out, these are the skills I require. So first year degree should have these particular topics. The child should be aware of these things. If he comes out of a diploma, I will be giving him a job, but then I require him to know these things.
Right, ma'am. I'm a little short of time, but the question is, if I have one specific question and criticism of this policy, is that we have not looked at the industry academia linkages.
Yes.
I read it several times, and that could be long term, because we require students to become school ready, from there to being college ready, from there to be job ready, life and livelihood ready. Right. We have overshot our time. Closing comments from each of the panelists with a specific question. I start with you, Kaisar.
I think a very good vision document.
No, sir. I'm not asking my question to you.
Oh, you haven't asked.
Yuka, yes. 2047, when India celebrates 100 years of independence, 2 generations of our students would have gone through this new policy. Where would you see your grandson or granddaughter to be in the school you are heading now?
Will I be heading?
The school you are heading now, where will you find your grandson? What kind of learning, what kind of school would it be?
Before answering that, I'll just tell you what the issue is. I think first set of kids who go through it will face the issue of change management. And change management is a topic in itself. So I think we need to keep in mind, because the key word here is coordination. Coordination is the key word. And we have to remove this word examination and call it just assessment. Right? This examination and assessment is not necessarily an examination is an assessment. So it's assessment, right? Not necessarily an exam. Nobody out there in the US and North America has an exam till not even till grade 12. It's an ongoing assessment going on. So how do they land up in the college? So that's where I see my kids doing what perhaps in the West has happened. It's already happening, right? Where schools are autonomous. I see schools being autonomous. The school certificate, which they come up with, the school transcript has its value for what it is, because schools know their children better than someone sitting high up somewhere making an exam out of it. There are no exams in high school, ending of high school. There are ongoing assessments. So I see my children in that sphere. By the time we reach the second lot, and hopefully with the change of government, no change of ideas become an ongoing process to take us there. Otherwise, where the Western countries and European countries are, it will take us still more longer time to get there.
Okay, right.
So coordination is the story.
Coordination and integration is the story. Dr. Amita, 2047, Springdale's principal, what would she be, she is a loaded term, what would he or she be looking at? And I see in your board some of the great army officers whom I admire, especially those two gentlemen whom I personally know. 2047, what will the principal of Springdale look at in her school?
I'm so glad you've written me off, because I'll be 6 feet under.
Yeah.
But whereas Kesar is still going strong, that's okay, Kesar. I have no problems with that. But what I would like to say is that I think the most important thing is to, I'm looking at schooling where there'll be competencies to transform society and shape the future. And essentially, those will be creating new values. Students will be able to create new values, reconciling tensions and dilemmas. Because I think the whole well-being is very integral now, because technology will become in huge force. And also the whole nuance of taking responsibility. I think that's extremely important, because today there is no responsibility. So student agency, where student voice and student agency, where the curriculum will be designed as per around how students will motivate themselves and recognize their own prior knowledge and attitudes. There has to be a certain rigor which they will understand. And then, of course, the focus will be very relatively small on too many topics. And there'll be a sort of student learning by themselves. There will be coherence and alignment of everything with real life. So everything will be, if this is a topic, if this is something I'm learning, how am I going to fix my life? How am I going to fix other people's life? You know, so the interrelatedness of life will have to become huger and huger, because there is a strong interdependence also because of technology. So engagement is another very important word, and flexibility. So the concept of teacher engagement, student agency, what I said to you, mental well-being will be at, and the sustainable development goals, SDGs, will kick in a very big way, because they are the ones who will define environment, will define poverty, will define learning, will define the last child who's left. I think SDGs have to be really looked at as transformative tools for the next 2030, 2040.
2030, yes. Thank you, ma'am. SDGs, socio-emotional cultural learning, to Seema Sapru. Will a principal exist in heritage in 2047? Or will he or she be a chief content officer? Or will the physical education director be more important? Seema Sapru, how will your teachers be in 2047?
In 2047, I'm hoping teachers will not be called teachers, because in any case, we've seen a lot of, we've seen how teachers were called educators, and then from educators to, content makers to, whatever, we've given them very fancy names now. So they are change makers. So one thing is for sure that, there will be a transformation in not just the school principal, but the entire culture, where it will be a learning culture. There will be no teacher, there will be no taught. Everybody will be learning in the school. That's what I feel. Secondly, I must mention here, I was in Germany when I realized that in grade 4, there is an examination which decides as to where the child would be after, grade 4, 5, 6. What would the child be doing later on in life? So this was decided in grade 4 itself. And I was wondering, when will this happen to our country, when they would decide what vocation they would be taking after later on in life. And nobody looks down at anyone who's a plumber or whatever. Second thing, I saw another school where, which was of course Waldorf schools, everybody goes to, I mean everybody knows of, but there was another school which is in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam, where children grow food, they sell food, they study, they do everything themselves. And then this is how it's all self-sustaining kind of a program. So I'm looking at India and the heritage school, where everything will be done by children and teachers by themselves, and it'll be a self-sustaining program where there'll be no teacher, there'll be no principal. Everybody will be a learner, and of course teachers will be there who will provide them, who will facilitate their learning. And that's it. I'm looking at that kind of a model.
Right. Yeah. Now to Dr. Dakshayani. The question is very simple. 2047, 100 years of Indian independence, as we celebrate our 100th year, will India be the knowledge power this NEP envisages? How do you look at it, and what will be the role of your school in it when your successors take over that school?
Thank you so much, Kanan Shekhar, for the question. I definitely believe that India will be there because, there is a will and there is hard work that we are known for. And I think we catch up very fast. Yes, we need a push. Yes, we need a change in mindset. But the kind of work that our teachers do, 7 days, 24 hours, I don't think any teacher in any country is ready to do. So definitely, I believe that given good support, as I told you, success of any policy would lie in implementation. So if the planning is right and if we go through, we will be there. And we will be probably guiding others as to how to do it. That much of confidence I have. But my school, definitely, I believe that education is going to be borderless now. Anybody can join any school of any country in case they want to. It will be completely accessible. And the second thing, it will not be completely building waste anymore. Probably 2 days in a week, children will come to school because I think content part of it will be available for them at homes. Online teaching, hybrid model, all of that will be in place. But for socio-emotional learning, physical aspects, as you rightly said, the physical education director could be the most important person in the school. And the yoga teacher could be the most important person because she has to, or he has to teach them how to take care of their well-being. So these are the things that will probably take the prime thing. Children will know what to do, what not to. SDGs will be there because otherwise they will not be able to survive. So I'm very, very sure that the complete learning picture will change. There will be a school leader who will be learning along with the kids. And they will all be more into factual things that are happening in the world. And depending upon what is required at that point, I think will be taught in the school. There will not be any structured curriculum as such, but definitely knowledge will not be the prerogative, or I would say children will not come to school to gain knowledge, but it will be overall development. That is
right.
what.
Yeah, great thoughts to end with, but I believe that Kesar, Dakshayani, Amita and Seema will open branches of their schools in March. That would be my thought. Yeah, before we finish, from a guru to a learning curator is what the teacher would transform herself to be. And I also believe that in a technological world, wherein the FANG group, the Facebooks, the Netflix and the Googles, encourage you to be impatient. The key would be making our children more patient, more reflective, integrating all the points you made, wherein Kesar talked about seamless integration, Seema talked about the transformation of the teacher, SDG is what Dr. Amita's focus, and Dakshayani is saying that the physical education teacher will be much more important with already India having 25% overweight children. This NEP is transformational, but yet tons and tons of work we have to do. The states have to speak a language which is in tune with the NEP, which has been made with some care, and then only what Dr. Kasturi Rangan and his team has put through and supported by the Prime Minister himself will make India a knowledge superpower. Thank you, panelists, for the wonderful answers and for your patience. Back to you, ABEA team. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colonel Shekhar. I mean, I don't know whether the word thank you is enough for conducting this whole session so wonderfully. Thanks again. And thank you so much to Dr. Karna, Dr. Wattle, Mrs. Sapro, and Mr. Kaiser for this, for answering the questions, so twisted questions by Colonel Shekhar so well. I just wish that all the educators of our country should have heard this particular conversation that we had just now. Thanks again. And I'm really sorry that we could not do a live streaming of the session on Facebook due to some problem. But we are going to put the link on Facebook and people can surely see it at whenever they feel like. I do have a request to all the people present over here to kindly give your feedback. The link has already shared with everyone. Fine, then thank you everyone and please take care. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, happy Independence Day to all of you.
Oh yes, happy Independence Day.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amita.
Thank you, Seema. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Dakshini. Thank you. And Pradipto, many, many thanks for this fantastic opportunity. And Colonel Shekhar, the boss of ceremonies.
I know,
so much.
Exactly.
Dr. Amita, as it is mera naam kharab hai, nobody wants to come to my panel if I am moderating. Aur kharab mat karo, madam.
Oh, no.
The saddest part was Colonel Shekhar, each time you asked me a question, your voice is breaking and I couldn't hear it properly. So I was very confused. What am I answering and what was the question?